marketing, sales mentality. Here he is trying to put together a little offer to get his lemonade going, right? And then I think, what in the hell are we teaching our kids that they have to give a lemonade free in order to make 50 cents, 25 cents on a piece of lemonade or a cup of lemonade? I'm like, man, this is like this whole crazy thing going on. So I think, what if instead, and maybe my graphics are a little bit better than his writing, but what if instead he said, Nana's Famous Lemonade, and then you see down the bottom, free recipe with every purchase. And the big difference is you see up top, it's $1 instead of 50 cents. So the chance here is the value that somebody sees in that. One, he's a cute kid standing on the corner. You're going to buy his lemonade whether it's $1 or 50 cents. Two, you're going to get more value out of that than you expected from the 50-cent piece or a cup of lemonade. But then also he's going to make more money. The reason we don't do that is because selling sucks. Anybody else hate selling? I've been in sales. I've written a book on sales. But selling sucks. It is a hard thing to do. And so that's why my son felt like he had to give away a cup of lemonade in order to sell lemonade. As an example, I don't know how young people we are in the audience, but that's a phone. Back in the day. So when I first started my first company back in 2001, I had gone through the process, did sales training, created a script, had the whole thing ready to go. I start picking up my very first call. I pick up the phone, I dial, I call in, I got this really targeted list I'm going after. I call, they pick up the phone, I say, hello, my name is Matt, I'm with so-and-so, is the person who manages blah, blah, blah in today. And her response on the other side of the line is, what was your name again? And I'm like, click. I literally, because that wasn't on my script, I felt like I'm bothering somebody. Oh my gosh, I was expecting her to say, well, yes or no, or whatever, but I wasn't expecting what was your name again. And so it totally threw me off. And that has always been because of the mentality of traditional sales anyway, is that I'm kind of interrupting somebody. I'm putting something in place of somebody that is not supposed to be there. And in fact, I'm French kissing somebody I don't even know. I'm starting to make out with somebody before I even have a chance to know who they are. So if I were to say, hey there, my name is Matt, I live in Ohio, I'm about 5'7", you want to make out? You'd likely say no. Maybe you wouldn't. But you'd likely say no because she doesn't know me, I don't know her. But the idea there is when we go out and we're trying to sell somebody, the first time they come to our website, or if you work offline, if you're in retail, if you're in whatever it might be, and you're trying to sell something, the second that you get in front of somebody, it's like we're trying to make out with somebody right away before we even know them. It's all about a perspective. So I got an exercise. So if everybody could stand up for me. Pick somebody nearby. I need pairs of two. So pick somebody that you're standing next to. And I'm going to do a little exercise. Introduce yourself. Take a second. So what we're going to do is all good. So what we're going to do, you have somebody that you're paired up with. And if you find somebody, if you're somebody on the end, there you go. Turn around, find somebody. Everybody's good. So what I want you to do, I'm going to say go, and I want you to snap 3 times, and then as you're looking at that person in the eye, I want you to draw a capital letter E on your forehead. So I'm going to say go, you're going to snap 3 times, you're going to look that person in the eye and draw a capital letter E on your forehead. Okay, ready? Go. All right. How'd everybody do? You don't know. Have a seat. I'll tell you. So for those of you who are doing this, so if you drew the letter E with the lines going out to the left, raise your hand. Very good. You win. If you drew your letter E with the lines going to the right, sorry. You lose. I won't kick anybody out, but here's what happened. When you drew this E going out to the left, as you looked that person in the eye, what you were thinking was, I'm drawing this E for them to read, not for me to read. When I drew it with the E's going this way, that means I was looking at it for my own self. And what that means is, it's all about perspective. So, perfect example. Is that a 6 or is it a 9? It all depends on which way you're looking at it and where you're coming from. So we have to think that through whenever we're going through the process of selling somebody something or trying to help them get to a place where they're buying something from us, is understand their perspective and not just the fact that they've come to our website because they gotta believe my stuff is the best, they gotta have money in their pocket, they gotta know they wanna buy our stuff. They don't think that way. You think that way, you hope they think that way, but that's not always the case. So we want them to start thinking through, I want you to start thinking through what the perspective is on their end instead of only on your end. So what I did is I went out, there's a site out there actually that ranks all the top websites in the world, probably based on traffic or something. I'm not exactly sure how they rank. 85% of those websites, and these are big brands, things that you would know, the whole deal. 85% of them are making out before you even know them. Meaning, you go to the website and what's the first thing on the front page? Buy this, right? Mattress, $9.99, $1,000 off the whatever, $3,000 off MSRP for this truck, anything that you can think of. $19.99 special. Products listed all over the place, all kinds of sales and specials and whatever you want to do. You don't even know if that person landed on your page on accident. You don't know if that person has any money to buy your stuff. You don't know if that person needs your stuff. What you want to try to do, and what we're going to talk through today, is finding out how to make sure and thinking through the process of, is that person actually a customer of mine? How can I get them out of the way if they're not? And how can I lead them down the right path if they are? It's kind of like networking here, right? And what's the first question you ask? When you sit down next to somebody, you're at lunch, or you're having a conversation with somebody that you've just met, what's the first question you ask? What are you from? What do you do? What are you from is a good one. What do you do? Where are you from? Why are you here? You don't go in and say, hey, can you talk about me for a second? Right? But that's what we're doing on our websites and in our marketing materials, in our sales process. We're saying, hey, here's me. Here's all my stuff. Here's how great everything is. Buy it, right? Before we even know whether or not they're the right person. So I dare you to be different. I dare you to take a look at this in a different way and to do something different than what else is out there. And it's going to be hard. It's not an easy thing. It's a different mindset than what we're all used to, what most people are used to when it comes to sale. You might even look a little bit funny. If you're selling the same thing that everybody else is in your market, but your site looks different, or your message or your marketing looks different, you might be looked at a little bit funny to begin with. But what does happen is you end up with happy customers and more customers. In fact, you end up as a badass because you're the one who's getting all the sales, because everybody else looks the same and is doing the same, where you're doing something a little bit different in order to get somebody's attention, do a little bit different in the sales. They feel more comfortable with you, they trust you more because they've gone through that process and you've kind of helped them through. Great book. If you haven't read, there's a guy named Jay Baer, it's B-A-E-R. I wrote a book called Utility, Y-O-U, Utility. Speaking of, I forgot to say who I am. My name's Matt, by the way. I'll talk about my book in here in a second. So just be useful. His whole concept, utility, is you need to be useful. Be a tool to somebody. So today we're going to talk about the 6 ways to rise above the noise. You guys are all out there trying to sell your stuff, whether you're an affiliate, whether you're a publisher, whether you're a blogger, whether you're a corporation trying to get your stuff sold through affiliates. We're all trying to rise above all the other stuff that's out there. Anybody ever seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding? So my wife and her family is the Greek side of the family. They're not Greek, but they're big, giant Catholic family. My side of the family is the other family in the Big Fat Greek Wedding. The quiet, subdued, don't say anything unless you have something nice to say. Whereas my wife's family is say whatever's on your mind and we'll forgive each other tomorrow. So when I first started dating her, it was a huge difference for me to try to figure things out and how to go in. And a lot of times this is what I felt. Literally, one of the very first times I went home, it was around the holiday time, so all of her siblings were all in town, and we're eating, or starting to eat dinner or gathering around or whatever. And literally all they did was, they're all having a conversation, and the way that they stood out was they just spoke louder. So it was whoever's next, whoever's louder, and this is my, I'm just like, I can't handle this stuff. I just wanted to leave the place. But I stuck around. We're still married, 23 years. Problem is, in our world, we're faced with about 5,000 or so, the number may change depending on where you are, 5,000 messages of some sort, whether it's ads, branding type messages, anything messaging, we're hit with every single day, 5,000 messages. About 362 of those, based on a survey, or based on research, 362 of those are ads specifically trying to sell you something. 153 of those, you make a mental note, like I'm aware that that thing is out there trying to sell me something. All the other ones I've totally ignored. That's supposed to say 86, but that doesn't look like an 86, but I just found out 3 seconds ago, that's what my slide looked like. 86 is the number that I actually make a note of and pay attention to, that I am aware that exists, and 12 things I end up taking some sort of action or engagement on. Doesn't mean I buy 12 things a day. It just means that I'm aware and I take some sort of action based on that thing. So we're trying to get from 5,000 down to 12. So how do we do that? This is 5,000. We want to be one of those dots and we want to stand out among all those 5,000 in order to get to the 12. So we're going to walk through 6 tips. So here they are. Give more than what's expected. If somebody wants a school bus, give them an effing school bus, right? Give them more than what they are expecting. And this doesn't take a whole lot. This can be a little follow-up email 3 days after they purchase something that just says, hey, just wanted to check in to make sure that you're enjoying your product. And that can be an automated thing, doesn't even have to really come from you, but from a customer perspective, it's just a little extra touch, right? It could be a little something you send. I have a great example. I ordered a t-shirt online, and it was very specific. I happen to be bald under this hat, and it was a thing called Bald Life, baldlife.com. Believe it or not, there's a place. Ordered a t-shirt, got the t-shirt, and in with the package of the t-shirt, I got a little coaster with the Bald Life logo on it and a little sticker for my computer or for my car or whatever. Those little things, I then set them on my thing. I took a picture, I posted it to Facebook, posted it to Instagram, told the world about this because I was so excited about these extra little things that I got. So it doesn't take much, but give more than what's expected. If you just are trying to reach the barely level of what's expected, then you're not going to last very long. Number 2, and this is a tough one in your world because I know you live on referrals and links and clicks and all that fun stuff, but give referrals without expecting referrals. Sometimes it's okay just to be helpful because you want to be helpful. Giving somebody a referral or pointing somebody in the right direction or sending somebody to a website, not everything always has to be about the almighty dollar. And how much more are you trusted whenever you're giving somebody something without expecting something in return? We all think of this phrase win-win, right? We're creating a win-win. This is a mutual benefit. Everybody benefits out of this whole thing. But win-win means I'm doing this because I'm expecting something back from you. So instead, look at it as literally just win for your customer. What can you do to make it so that their experience is purely a win? I love this picture. Anybody love cake? So I couldn't get a picture, but I'm a huge chocolate cake fan. I had a chocolate muffin this morning with Dana. But you know the layers in a chocolate cake? It's kind of moist around the layer of frosting as you get down. You know, it's like frosting, and then it's a little moisture, and then it's great cake, and then it's another layer of frosting and moisture and all this good stuff. The whole idea of this whole win piece and what I talked about, giving more than what's expected, is like I'm I dug into that cake only thinking it was just going to be one layer of chocolate cake. But then instead I dug through and I got another layer of frosting and then another layer of frosting. And it just got better and better and better as I went through the process. But the nice thing is, generally, the same amount of effort went into baking a cake that had 3 layers as did for have 1. So in your world, what can you do? Those little different things to just make it so that it's a win for the customer and not just for you. Be genuine. When you're asking questions, and that means in a sales process or something like that, but be genuine in your relationship with a partner or with a customer or client. This is my genuine bear because he just looks genuine to me. But you know what we think about? Back to that networking conversation. What's happening whenever I ask you, what do you do? And you give me an answer, what am I usually thinking in the back of my head? He's going to ask the same thing. Or whatever he just said, I got to start thinking about what he just said because I've got something to respond about what he's saying. And I'm not even thinking about what he's talking about. We do it in person. A lot of times we don't mean it. I'm guilty of it. But if you just focus on what they're trying to tell you, instead of moving on to the next thing and really trying to jump in and get to the sale, be genuine. Create a relationship. Be trusted. If you're not genuine, people sniff it out. Be a resource. And this is a great idea of how to go about this whole mentality. If somebody wants roller skates, give them roller skates. If somebody asks, how do I fix my roller skates? Give them an article about how to fix your roller skates. If they say, where in the world would I find roller skates like this? I don't know how old they are or where in the world it is, but if I want roller skates just like that, can you give them something in order to be a resource to help them find that thing? Even if you don't have it, can you be a resource to help them find what they're looking for? So be a resource. Think through how you can do things for your end customer that are not just beneficial to you, but are beneficial to them. Back to Jay Bear, be useful. Finally, point number 6, be courageous. And what I mean by this is do things differently. I told you before, it's going to be hard. It's not easy to put an ebook on your homepage, to get people to download something, to get them into your database so that you can ultimately qualify them instead of splashing product the second time that somebody gets on there. Like I said, you might be laughed at. You might look different than what everybody else is doing. But I promise you, this stuff works. So be courageous. Give you a couple examples of courageous. Lexus, a few years back, started a print magazine. Of all things, a car company created a print magazine that didn't sell cars. The magazine was about a lifestyle of what Lexus owners experienced, what they liked, what they wanted. So it's talking about vacations and golf and jewelry and all the things that people who own Lexuses like in their lives. Every once in a while, sir, you'd have a Lexus ad, but the goal was not to get you to buy a Lexus out of that thing because you've already bought a Lexus. But what I want you to do is when you come back and it's time for you to buy another car, I want you to remember how awesome your experience was and that you connect this idea of an experience with Lexus. This is one of my properties, Jolt Sites. So we do small website development. And if you can't read this, it says, so this is our contact page. If you're overly analytical and have crazy expectations that can't possibly be met, we are not for you. Anybody in here tell their customers that they're not the right customer for them? Awesome. Love to hear it. Because that is one of the biggest things, because 99% of the time, we take whatever we can get, right? If it's a sale, it's a sale. It doesn't matter. We want to get there. So what we try to do is tell them, let them know beforehand. Neil Patel yesterday talked about quizzes, things that you can try to help qualify. Even if everybody qualifies after they get through the quiz, at least you have the idea to be able to go to the next step and address whatever it is that they filled out in your quiz or your form or something. You can address that based on what they gave feedback. Funniest thing in the world, but brilliant marketing. Search for, if you have a minute on your phone sometime, Nightmare Fear Factory. This is in Niagara Falls. It's a haunted house. What they did was they put a camera in a particular spot in their haunted house. So as you walk through, at that particular moment, it takes pictures of you. and then automatically pushes it out, just like, when you ride a roller coaster, and at the end of the roller coaster, it shows, you took the picture of it. So then they push these things out. You can spend hours flipping through pictures of this stuff. Come on, it doesn't get any better than that. But what do you believe happened after these guys saw that picture? Every single one of them, except maybe the guy on the right, is going to go share that picture and say, oh my gosh, look at this is so funny. And then they're going to say, look at Jimmy, he was so scared he pissed himself. The idea here is doing something different. This is not something that other haunted houses were doing. So they had to stand out, right? Come Halloween time, you got 17,000 different haunted houses in your area that you can pick from. How do you stand apart? Do something different. Be courageous. Courageous on another end, something like Tom's, right? The whole buy one, get one, or buy one, give one mentality. They basically created an industry out of something that was a piece that they started that now people are trying to duplicate and trying to run over again. But that was brave. That's courageous. You're talking about doing something different like that. If you can add a piece, when you talk to somebody, especially from a philanthropic perspective, whatever it is that you do, add that little extra piece onto it. Doesn't have to be a buy one, give one. Doesn't have to, that kind of thing. But the mentality of philanthropy is wonderful. So wrapping up, we're trying to get from 5,000 to the 12. So what we want to try to do is those 6 things that will get you to rise above the noise and try to be different and unique without having to do something like that. So I wrote a book called Stop Selling, Start Helping. Feel free to download one. I've got a little quiz. I've got 3 to give away. And here's my information. So, question, who was paying attention? What was the very first point? Too late, sorry. You called it out. Was it you? That's all right. I didn't ask anybody to raise their hand. I just said tell me. What movie did I talk about? Just shout it. I got one more. Who came here from the farthest away? Brazil. France. Russia. Okay, I'm not good with geography. I probably shouldn't ask that question. Wait. Israel. Is that farthest? All right. Sorry, thanks for the geography help. I'm a marketer, not a... It may be Russia's, but I don't know. Yeah, very good. Wonderful. Stop selling, start helping. Check it out. Let me know what questions you have. I'm not doing the little Slido thing because I like it better just to have some conversations. We've got a few more minutes left. What do you got?
Do you have an example of how that's helped you, like data?
Sure. I can give an example. It's not numbers driven, but I can give you an example. So for years, before, currently I work for a company called Shot Stop Ballistics. We make bulletproof materials, inserts for bulletproof vests for police officers and military, that kind of thing. The guy who started this company was a client of mine for a long time, so I owned a content marketing agency for a long time. I had met a guy 12 years prior. We did not get his business as a web development company. And over 12 years, he'd email me. I had an email database that I sent out to, so folks that were prospects at one point. I had an email database and I wrote blogs and did videos all the time. I had a weekly show called Monday Mornings with Matt, the Marketing Man. I had an email. I blogged 2 or 3 times a week, so it was all about just helping, putting information out there. 12 years from the time that I met this guy, did not get his business. We had connected on LinkedIn and touched and touched and touched. 12 years later, the guy emails me out of nowhere and says, hey, I got a guy who's coming into the States to start a business that's overseas and wants to come into the States. Can you help him out? So something like that is as simple as, you don't think about it, right? It's just it's out there, you're just doing your thing and somebody's paying attention. Even though it took 12 years and even though I didn't get his business, I got the other guy's business. Anybody else? Questions? Yes.
For somebody that's just starting out, like once you get their attention, you've laid out what to do. Do you have any advice for someone just starting out, like on Instagram or Facebook, how to get the initial attention?
Sure. Yeah, the biggest thing to stand out, I think, again, back to is what most people put out there. That all depends on what you're selling and what you're trying to do. But what most people put out there is product-specific type stuff or price or product, things that are, I'm trying to sell something. Purely educational content. She asked the question, for somebody starting out, if you're just trying to get some attention or stand out from the crowd to begin with, what do you do when you first get started? So yeah, I think it takes energy and it takes effort. I talked to a guy, is Mitch in here? Talked to a guy last night, Mitch, who has a sports betting site, several sites now, 14 of them, I think he said, that he started 9 or 10 years ago. And he just started writing content about college basketball or college football or whatever it was. Just started writing. And he just put it out there. It took a couple years for anything to happen, but then it started to click. That mentality of purely focusing on, I really am here to help you, not because I'm writing this blog because ultimately I want to sell you something, right? So if you have the mentality of, I'm genuinely here to do this, I'm doing what I'm doing because I want to help you, that's the mentality. And so whether it's videos or blogs or photos or images or webinars or anything like that, to be able to offer that value to somebody, that's the best way to get out there to begin with.
So should you hold back on the affiliate links until you've established?
In my opinion, yes. I think if you start a thing and then all of a sudden, the first post you have on Instagram is, hey, my name's Sally and I sell, in so many words, then people step off, right? They back off to begin with. If you put out there and you say, hey, I've just started a blog that's talking about healthcare, health food for dogs, then, and hey, if you love dogs, this is a great place to go, then that's a whole different mentality. And then after you build the audience and they trust you, they'll buy anything that you put out there. What else?
What are some tools or ways in general that you use to help with time management when you're going through it all?
Sure. Buffer is one of my favorite. Bufferapp.com or buffer.com. Are you familiar? Yeah. Okay. So it's a scheduling tool that has saved, when I found out about it and I was like, oh my gosh, right? Yeah, I'm spending all this time on all these different platforms and trying to put it all out there, both for myself as well as my clients. It was just crazy. And then once I discovered Buffer and its ability, so for those who don't know, so she asked what kind of tools do you use from a time management perspective to try to manage it all, was all about how to make it easier. And Buffer is wonderful. If you haven't heard of it, it's a social media scheduling platform that basically allows you to schedule out. So I just add stuff into my Buffer, put it out there on a regular basis. And so as I'm standing here, there's likely something that's tweeting because I've got it in place to do that automatically. All right, I got one more question and then my time is up.
So what's the turning point for when you start helping for free and you start charging? And second, is there any ratio how much you have for free and
Very good.
how much time you spend charging?
Yeah, so he asked, what's the time frame? How long do you just help for free and give stuff away for free before you start to ask for a sale or try to start getting paid? And then what's the ratio of how much helping to selling do you do? The time frame differs depending on what you're trying to sell. If I'm selling widgets that cost 25 cents or 50 cents or whatever, my time frame is going to be a little bit quicker. If I'm selling $10,000 watches, it's going to be a little bit, the time frame is going to be a little bit longer because the sales cycle and the process of somebody understanding and being educated in that. As far as ratio, a great scale, and this is kind of to social media in particular, but just in general, if you've heard of either 411 or 622 is a concept that is, if it's 622, you say of 10 social media posts that I put out there, 6 of them should be helping, sharing somebody else's stuff, talking about something that's not related to a sale, not related to trying to get you to do anything with my company. It's just as helpful information that's going to help you in some way in your life related to what I do. Secondly, then the 2 is putting out stuff that might be about your company, but not necessarily a sales message. So, hey, you know, we're now carrying the new blah, 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 or there's a new trend in ABC, right? So something that's still, it's connected, but it's not necessarily selling. And then the final 2 would be your sales message. Hey, we have this product for X deal. So 622, 411, you know, depending on how you look at it, but that's the general ratio that I use. All right, thank you very much. I will be around. StopSellingStartHelping.com. Appreciate you coming.